Hello and welcome to MC Webinars. Thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to look at this new tool that we've developed at MC Burning Glass, and we have with us Will Cookson, who is the Director of Communities and Government here at MC Burning Glass. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please put them in the questions box of your control panel, and we will endeavour to get back to those at the end of the presentation. We will send out the recording and slides after the presentation as a follow-up email, so please keep your eyes open for that. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Will. Hi, Will.
Hi, Debbie, and greetings to everyone that has joined us virtually. As Debbie mentioned, today's webinar is really exciting because we get to share something new that we've been working on, which is our Economy Insight dashboard. And this is the first of two sessions that we're going to do on this. The first one, it will be me just really taking you through the dashboard and explaining how and why it's been developed and how it could be deployed and used. And then the second webinar we'll bring in a customer to give you a perspective on that, and more on that later. For anyone that's joining us and doesn't already know who we are, our organisation is MC Burning Glass. We merged last August. Our vision is to be the global authority on the labour market, leading a transition to a future of work based on skills and capabilities. And our mission is to drive economic prosperity and mobility by providing the insights needed to build and develop people, institutions, companies and communities. To do that, we work with a broad range of customers in the UK and elsewhere in the world, including obviously employers, local government, local enterprise partnerships, further education colleges, universities, and so on and so forth. So today we're going to look at the Economy Insight dashboard. I suppose I should start with what it is. It's a simple interactive dashboard. It's been developed to help organisations understand local trends, identify priorities and opportunities within their labour market. What it isn't is worth mentioning as well. It's not a replacement for any of our existing solutions, be that our analyst tool or our career coach portal, as they serve quite different purposes and to some extent different audiences. So I'll describe what the differences are as we go through the webinar, because I think that's important for any existing customers that are joining us today, or for anyone that wants to think more broadly about how we provide labour market information. Worth mentioning, this will be a solution that's it's available now. It will be provided on a subscription basis, as we do with our other tools and solutions. So how did it come about? Well, we identified the need primarily through customer feedback. We have at times over the last, and I'm going back as we often do, if we think about this period from March 2020, we have had a lot of demand for reports that we've created, which are often free to access, be that to look at the impact of COVID-19 at a local level, our State of the Nation reports, which were launched at the start of this year, which looked at local economy and how that compares to national trends. And so we knew that there was a need for headline information that could be easily understood and distributed. So yeah, essentially the desire, the need, as we've identified it, is the desire to monitor economic disruption or recovery. And we also know through our work with customers and through customer feedback how important it is to be able to make comparisons, be that to the UK picture as a whole, or maybe more importantly to neighbouring areas. And that might be a neighbouring area, as I mentioned, or it might be that there's a statistical comparator that you've identified elsewhere in the UK, which might have a similar trends within its economy or a similar makeup in terms of location or the industry or sector presence. It has a different application to our other tools, and by that I think, without wanting to labour the point, this is very much been developed, it has been developed to be easily understood by a wide audience, whereas maybe our other tools, and I'm thinking specifically of our analyst tool, is often used by people that, as you'd imagine, are carrying out analysis. And so we've stripped out jargon, and we've tried to make sure that this is easily understood. We'll see by how many questions we get on the webinar whether that is the case, but I hope that it is. And we also we've come to the realization, again through customer feedback, that the organisations are very keen to collaborate around an evidence base. And we see that as something that the dashboard could really help, because it could be used within an organisation or shared more broadly with a range of local stakeholders. Broader context, as you'd imagine, organisations are facing pressure to provide a solid evidence base for decisions they take, and which sectors they are prioritising, or particular interventions that they might want to focus in on that relate to the labour market. And generally they're looking to understand and demonstrate an understanding of the local economic picture, really trying to quantify economic uncertainty, which we've obviously had a lot of, be it the pandemic or the tight labour market that has materialised in that rush to recruit that we saw as we came to the end of last year. But then also there's a couple of agendas that are in the mix and very important to our customers, skills for jobs and levelling up being key. But then there's also the launch of the Shared Prosperity Fund, all require a common understanding of the local economy to inform priorities and interventions. So to help with that, we've created the Economy Insight Dashboard. It is interactive. It provides a clear view of what's happening locally. It picks out and helps you to look at the mix of industries within a given area, which jobs are in demand, which occupations are growing, and how your economy compares with other comparative areas. We see that there's a few use cases, and I've mentioned these already, but that need to track recovery, understand how things are changing within the labour market at a local level, validating priorities, evaluate which sectors, given area, is best opportunities for growth, identifying priorities for investment, which again links back to that point I was making about the Shared Prosperity Fund, levelling up and skills for jobs. And then also to evidence decisions, ensuring that your strategic priorities and interventions are based on a solid evidence base, which can be easily communicated to a broader group of stakeholders. So enough of the preamble. This is where I would have a drum roll if we can. We'll imagine that the drum roll is there. So I'd like to talk about the Economy Insight Dashboard. The first section of it focuses in on the local economy. What we are seeing here is the top part of the dashboard that's looking, as I said, at the local economy. We've got an unspecified coastal city that we're looking at here. The headline metrics that you can see, metrics even that you can see across the top of the screen, essentially looking at employment. That's a total across all industries, in this instance for 2021. We're then looking at unemployment, which is the percentage of the working age population that are unemployed, so the overall unemployment rate in 2021. We're looking at population using the annual population survey insight that we have for 2021. And then finally we get to recruitment demand, which is looking at the last 12 months unique, or the 12 months unique postings in 2021. These are deduplicated job postings. Now, we found that these have been really important for our existing customer base when they're looking to understand how recovery is tracking. Recruitment demand is the real-time view of what's happening within the local economy. So that comes from our job postings insight, and you'll see here, as we look at the graph, you can see how recruitment demand has tracked on a monthly basis. And this goes up to March, and it would be updated monthly. So you've got that ongoing view. And the green line that you can see there is the comparison to the previous 12 months. So you can start to see there for this coastal city that currently things are at a much higher level than they were last year, which is obviously positive to see. As you would scroll down on that part of the local economy part of the dashboard, you'd come to industry composition. So this, I haven't got the full list on here, but this consists of 19 industries which are classified using standard industry classifications at a 1-digit level. So there's 19 industries, quite a useful way of thinking about industry presence at a sectoral level. Pretty self-explanatory. And what we're looking at here is the number of jobs in each of these industries or sectors in the latest full year with the UK equivalent. So the UK equivalent is the share, and that's the green dot that you can see there. That green dot represents the share at a UK level, which is resized to match the local labour market. So it's an equivalent, which you can use to obviously see whether you have a higher presence of particular sectors in your given area. And you can see here, for example, if you look at education or human health and social work activities, those job volumes far outweigh the UK average. But when we look at manufacturing, we can see that there's less of a presence of that, of what we would find on average across the UK. Top 10 companies is coming from job postings. So essentially the volume of active job postings in the last 12 months, aggregated obviously for that given area, and essentially picking out the largest employers in this area. What this can be used to is to identify high volume employers, could inform engagement activity that you may want to carry out. Top 10 occupations, and this would be as you scrolled down on that first page of the dashboard. This looks at the volume of unique online job postings for the largest 10 occupation groups. Now, occupation groups, we use standard occupation classifications, which are mapped across to our job postings, and that's at a 4-digit level, so a granular level, which is probably most valuable in terms of classifying occupations, whereas we've got that sectoral view for when we're looking at the industry presence. But these are occupations as classified within job postings, and obviously by those top 10 of the highest volume. So that's the first part of the dashboard, looking particularly at the local economy. The next section is the benchmark analysis, where you can start to do that comparison with other areas. So worth pointing out that you need to first of all define your benchmark. Obviously you can see there that there's an opportunity to specify the year, so it could be 2019, 2020, 2021 and 2022 to date. The 2019 we thought would be useful if you want to look at a pre-pandemic view of either your local economy and compare that with another area of your choosing. That could be, as I mentioned elsewhere, it could be a statistical comparator from elsewhere in the country, could be a neighbouring area. That's really for you to define and decide on. And then obviously that could be available for ongoing benchmarking. Headline comparison you can see here. Of talked through those previously, but total volumes of employment, unemployment over the previous year as a percentage, population, and those high-level view of recruitment demand over the 12-month period. As we scroll down on the benchmark of comparison, we can look at recruitment demand side by side. Apologies, it's slightly cramped on here. I'm trying to get everything onto the screen. Again, you've got the current view, which would be the year to date, which would be a rolling year, updated monthly with new job postings in sight. And then the green line is the comparison to the previous year. On the left-hand side, that would be your local area, and on the right-hand side, it would be the comparative area. And then as you scroll down, again, apologies, it's slightly cramped, we've got the industry composition. So what we're looking at here is not job postings in sight. These are total number of people employed within those one-digit industries, that sectoral view of employment, side-by-side comparison with the comparative area. Left-hand side being the local economy, that coastal town, and the right-hand side, the comparative area. It means you can compare the number of jobs in each industry. Obviously, the green dot, again, is the UK equivalent as a comparison as well. Start to pick out which area, which industries you have a particular strength in, where there may be opportunities for further growth, and also be able to view that in regards to an area that you may be benchmarking yourself against. Top 10 employers will be coming from job postings over the last 12 months. Who are the large employers in your area compared to your comparison area? And then we come to the next section. So just to recap, we've had a look at the local economy in a given area. We've then done some benchmark analysis using a similar metrics. And here we come to industry analysis. So if you wanted to dig deeper into those industries at an individual level, you can do. Worth mentioning as well as we go through here, you'll have seen on the left hand side there's a PDF logo. Everything can be downloaded as a PDF so that it can be shared with other interested parties. But the way we see the dashboard working would be that it's accessible to your organization and your stakeholders, and could be put in a public facing space, or you could find if you wanted it to be behind a password protected area, you could be, it's your choosing really. So this section allows you to select an industry, and I've selected human health and social work activities. You've got 19 industries or sectors at that SIC 1 level, so standard industry classifications, and it allows you to look at recruitment demand. Here we're looking at the last 12 months compared to the previous 12 months. Just to give you an idea, you could focus in on construction, education, you could focus in on manufacturing and so on. So there's 19 sectors which can be interrogated in more detail. As you scroll down, look at the number of job postings in the past 12 months. This is by job titles. So this is quite a useful way of thinking about occupations and their presence within the local economy, as it provides an alternative to the standard occupation classifications, which tends to lag behind, particularly in certain sectors, and health and social care might not be the best example of this, and information and communication or the digital sector would probably be a better one. Job titles tend to be how employers are describing occupations, as opposed to how they've been classified for statistical purposes. So in fast moving sectors, job titles are a useful piece of insight. Here we go to occupations, and you'll see there is a difference in terms of how they are being described, and also the volumes that are associated with them, just to demonstrate that there is a value in having both views alongside each other. We can then look at the top 10 hard skills, associated with the job postings within this industry. So these are what we're looking at here are hard skills, which essentially are technical skills, and they're looking at the abilities that have either, well, essentially as we would define it, abilities that have been taught or learnt by a person, often intrinsically linked to the occupation or industry. And essentially what we're looking at here is how many times these particular technical hard skills have been specified within job posting activities within that industry. And then we can do the same with soft skills or common skills or human skills even. And these are found, they tend to be less specific to the industry or the occupation. They're found across the labour market, but nonetheless important in terms of there will be things that employers will use to differentiate between different candidates that they see when they are recruiting, and nonetheless important when they're going through their recruitment process. So that's a whistle-stop tour. Oh, sorry, one more. 10 companies, top 10 companies within the industry, and you'll see, unsurprising with health and social care, the NHS is by far the largest company, employer, but then there's a whole range of other employers there as well that are recruiting people within occupations relating to health and social care. Now I'm going to pause just to see whether there's any questions. Debbie, have you seen whether there's any questions that have been raised?
Yes, there's a few questions. First of all, how is the dashboard different to Analyst? That's the first question, which is a fundamental one and very interesting one. So over to you, Will, on that one.
Sure. So for those that don't know, our Analyst tool has been developed and is well established and used by a whole range of organisations, including local government and local enterprise partnerships. As you'd imagine, with it being called Analyst, it has been designed to help individuals to really dig into and analyse the local economy, be that looking at structural data, and we saw some of that when we were looking at the dashboard, but in much deeper level. So all industries at all classification levels, all occupations at all classification levels, and then drawing that across to look at job postings data. So it has a lot of metrics that you won't see within the dashboard. For example, we will classify the presence of an industry using location quotient. We've tried to avoid that on the dashboard as we want it to be easily understood and not need explanation. And we found, interestingly, when customers are using our Analyst tool to disseminate information, they've taken that approach. They tend to focus in on headline measures that are easily understood and be able to communicate trends. So I guess the simple way of describing the difference is Analyst allows you to go far deeper in terms of your line of inquiry, whereas the dashboard has been developed to provide a view that's easily understood and interpreted without the need for much in the way of explanation.
Okay, cool. Can the dashboard show comparisons between different dates rather than just between areas?
You can look, so the time periods, the time series that we've got there in terms of the benchmark analysis or the comparative section of the dashboard is 2019, 20, 21 and year to date 2022. So yes, you can look at different time periods and you can look at those for your area and for your comparative area as well.
Okay, so just one more. What level of geographical area can the tool drill down to? So is it councils, postcodes, LSOAs?
So it's LAU1, which is basically local authority district level anywhere in the UK, and that could be for you could build up from that level of geographic granularity to a broader geography. So if you think of it, so today I'm in our head office in Basingstoke, that would be Basingstoke and Dean local authority level, but we could also have a dashboard that was at Hampshire level, or so it just depends really, but we can't go down to ward level or middle super output area or postcode. So the granularity goes down to district level.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will just provide a quick summary, and then do stay with us because there's a few other things I want to mention, not least how you can have a look at the dashboard yourself, because we've got a demo site that can be accessed, which will give you the opportunity to have a play with it yourself. So in summary, dashboard's been developed as a simple way to help organisations to understand what's driving their local economy and how that's changed over time, obviously with a view on recovery from disruption, which we're all more than aware of. It can identify which sectors, that industry level that we showed within the dashboard, which sectors present your area with its best opportunities for growth. And then also it can provide a solid evidence base for stakeholders of why you're prioritising certain sectors or industries over others. And also, finally, and I think probably most importantly, it provides a real-time view of what's happening in your local economy, which can be used to support collaboration with a wide range of internal and external stakeholders. And I think that last point is the key one in terms of why we've gone to the effort to develop the dashboard and why we think it will be welcomed by either our existing customers or organisations that we hope to work with in the future. So I did ask you all to hold on. You can have a play with the demo site. There is a web link which you can see below, which takes you through to a landing page, and there you can provide your details, and you will be we will share access to a demo site very similar to the one I've taken you through today, and you'll be able to really see how easy it is to use and understand, but also the way in which it is interactive as well, which obviously is hard to get across on a presentation like this. I will say that link will be in the follow-up email. And then finally, I did mention this right at the start, Thursday the 12th of May, I'll be joined by Saeed Butt, who's a Strategic Skills Manager at Southampton City Council. He'll be talking about how the dashboard can be used from a customer's perspective, which I think is interesting when you think of those policy drivers that we talked about right at the start, whether it's levelling up, skills for jobs, shared prosperity fund, and so on. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today, and do sign up for our webinar on the 12th of May, and do have a play with the dashboard. If you have any questions or have any feedback or would like to discuss it in more detail, do make contact with me, and I'll make sure my contact details, you'll see them on the landing page for the Economy Insight dashboard, but I'll also make sure that's clear within the follow-up email. Thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.